friends. Thank you for joining me for another episode of I Want to Know, the show dedicated to our community and the people in it. As we all know, we've had a challenging year called COVID-19, but with many challenging times, there's a lot of silver linings. So our show is going to be with one of those silver linings. I'd like to welcome you, Luke Izzo, to the show. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for the time. I know you've been quite the star in the past couple of weeks, but there's a lot of good reasons for that. You've definitely earned it. Luke Izzo has gotten a lot of notoriety lately for helping people get access to vaccines and helping them schedule it. So we're going to have a little bit of a discussion, find out, your history in the community, what you do. So you're 16 years old. You're a student at New Haven Academy, a junior, right?
A junior, yes.
Why don't you briefly just tell us about your experience at the beginning of the pandemic and how everything kind of came to a crashing halt and what that was like for you and other students like your friends, what you remember.
So at the beginning of the pandemic, when all the schools closed, obviously, it was fun at first because
vacation!
A vacation, right? And then after a while, it got boring. And just this past week, my school actually went back for hybrid. So it's been over a year on Zoom, but I got used to it, and it was, I knew how to control it, and it freed up a lot of time to do a lot of more extracurriculars and volunteer services and stuff. So in other words, I would say it was kind of a good and a bad thing because it freed up a lot of time for me.
And you've always kind of been a community-oriented person, right? You were involved with the Boy Scouts for a long time. Are you Eagle Scout? Is that?
Not yet. I'm about to be Life and then moving on to Eagle Scout next.
So you've done a lot of community projects with the Scouts. And one of those projects you were telling me about earlier was we had a tornado in Brantford last year. What was it, September?
I think it was August or September.
August of September. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that and how you helped out a resident, an elderly person who had a bunch of trees fall on her property.
Elderly resident, yeah. I saw it on WTNH. I believe this lady was in her 90s, and someone posted about it on Facebook asking for help. And of course, I stepped in, and they were expecting me to organize 3 or 4 people. I showed up with 20 people. And we ended up with completing the job, in one day.
Cutting up all the trees.
Cutting up all the trees, moving all the brush and stuff, chipping it all up, yeah.
Well, that's huge. And, to this day, we still see a lot of trees down from that storm.
Correct.
That have not been taken care of. So I'm sure this person was thrilled to have that assistance.
Yep.
So you're a community-oriented person, mindset anyways. So doing Zoom schooling gave you the opportunity to, explore those needs in the community even further. So you adjusted well, you think?
Yes, I would say I've adjusted well.
I think you have adjusted quite well, actually. When did you first get become aware of the needs of the vaccine distribution, right, and people scheduling? I mean, I kind of want to put the horse before the cart, but we'll go there anyways. So what triggered you?
So obviously there's always been more demand than supply, and still right now, but we're getting close to that threshold.
It's kind of evening out at this point?
It's evening out now, but obviously a few months ago was way out of proportion. And it came about when I saw this Facebook page on WTNH, I think, and it just addressed that people were struggling. Elderly folks could not navigate all these sites. It was mind-boggling. Yeah, it just
that's hard for
even
people.
For me. Sometimes it's challenging. So you can imagine an elderly person. It's impossible. And obviously, you need people to step in and make a difference, and that would be me.
And how did you get involved with the Vaccine Angels?
Yeah, so I joined the Facebook group New York and Connecticut Vaccine Hunters and Angels about 2 months ago, and I was regularly posting on the page. Primarily the focus of the page back then, 2 months ago, was obviously booking elderly folks and searching for a thing called excess doses. Many folks may not know what that is. Basically, a lot of pharmacies are like vaccine clinics. If people don't come, where they have an excess, or they have like an extra vial, that therefore becomes excess, and there's like a time limit on that. And I was regularly posting about that. Like people, like you could like walk in and like ask for an excess dose, and they will give it to you regardless of your age. So I was hunting around for that, and I was calling around a lot, and I found both of my parents excess doses, and then myself one too. But the focus of the page has definitely shifted now because obviously everyone 16 plus is eligible. It's obviously it's changed to like obviously booking people, providing news, coverage on the vaccine, answering questions. We even have our own doctor that answers questions, and we do like press briefings and like Q&A sessions and stuff.
Are the doctors able to answer people's questions when they're vaccine hesitant, or if they have questions? I mean, there's a lot of speculation out there, and people have their own concerns. Is the doctor able to address individual concerns when it comes to vaccines?
Yes, yes, definitely. Our doctor, Dr. Alessi, he definitely addresses a lot of those, and a lot of us as moderators, we address that too. Obviously, we don't have a medical background, but a lot of moderators actually do, so it is appropriate for them to do that.
How many moderators are there?
Now there's about 24, 25. It may sound like a lot, but mind you, the Facebook page, the Facebook group is over 25,000 people now.
Wow, okay. So are you inundated with phone calls all day long, or?
Not inundated with phone calls, inundated with Facebook private messages.
I see. Yeah, not phone calls.
Not
right.
phone calls. I would not be giving out my phone number. That would
right. Or
that
it
would
would
be crazy.
never end.
Yeah. It was a lot a week ago, 2 weeks ago. Now it's slowed down, I guess, because a lot of people have booked their appointments. So yeah.
So how many people do you think? How many people do you know how many people the organization has helped get vaccines, or? At
least a couple thousand, maybe like
because if you've done 200 plus.
4,000, yeah. I myself, 200 plus, I actually coordinated a bunch of volunteers. We go on Zoom and we book people and stuff, and it's very organized. In our group, we've booked appointments for over 1,000 people now.
Well, what are your lessons learned from this experience with the Vaccine Hunters and Angels?
My lesson learned is that the system has failed everyone right now with the vaccine distribution. Since it's such a hot commodity, you would think that it would be more accessible, people waiting the whole year for it, and then when it comes out, a complete failure with actually being able to book yourself. It's been very hard. And I've also learned, who's there for others. It's like a wartime effort, It's like the invisible war, the
but
virus.
Still all hands on deck?
All hands on deck. So people will remember who is there, who helped them out. And, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
If I may,
go, of course.
There's still
this
hundreds.
Is your show.
There's still hundreds of people joining the page every day.
So then there's still a need out there.
There's still a need. Of course, there's still a need. It's still very hard to book yourself, and obviously now with the J&J thing,
that's coming to a halt now, or temporary halt.
I think it's gonna. I think it's going to be allowed again.
Yeah, right.
Like with the AstraZeneca in Europe, they halted and then they allowed it again. Right. I don't think it's going to last that long.
So you have to consider all the challenges there are to this rollout, right? Because if you have to go online to book an appointment, people work, right? So they don't have the time to raising a family, working, or if you don't have access to the technology, which was a problem, especially in the cities like New Haven where they didn't have online access to even for education, let alone getting a vaccination for a family, right? So it's kind of, a failure of technology in a way, right? Equal access to technology.
That's right. And I tried to address that issue with like the lack of technology or like access to it. I actually started up a hotline. I have bilingual speakers in Spanish, Arabic, Portuguese,
Really?
Italian, and German. I myself speaking German as well. And people call in and it goes to voicemail, and then I have our translators, we call them back and we help book their appointments.
Wow. Okay, that's amazing. Do you want to share that hotline with people right now?
I don't know the exact phone number.
Okay. Well, we'll put it up there.
Yeah.
After the show, you give it to us, and we'll put it up there on the
Yeah.
screen for people when they
Yeah.
watch it on YouTube or on Facebook, so then people that have that access can contact you.
Right.
Because there's another barrier, language barrier, right? So your takeaways, any more takeaways that you have from this? And what would you like to see done differently the next time? Hopefully it doesn't happen, but the next time we have another effort like this, if something happens in society that the masses need access to something, what can we do differently to make it a little bit more even access?
Well, I definitely think that, public support of the vaccine, have people actually support it and not go against it, as some notable persons have gone against it. That
in our recent past, yeah.
In our recent past, that wouldn't help, that spurred millions to become vaccine hesitant.
Truth and transparency and
Truth and
messaging.
transparency would obviously be one with politicians and officials, stating that the vaccine is safe and stuff.
What is the science, and then what is the access, right?
Mm-hmm. And obviously, learning about the inequities in the vaccine distribution earlier, there was a clear inequity in how the vaccine was being distributed. You can obviously see it now in Africa. They're not getting the vaccines at
poorer countries are not
poor
getting
countries
access,
are not getting the vaccine, and you can see also in the U.S. poor areas are not getting the vaccine.
Right.
And you can see there's been public officials that have taken bribes to actually set up vaccine clinics in richer areas. That's in Florida with Ron DeSantis. That happened.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously that shouldn't happen.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's horrid.
yeah, it's so. If there's
a more honorable distribution.
Recognizing the inequities, it's very clear, and just addressing it. People don't like to address the inequities because it's change. People don't like change, all right? And how are you going to...
This past year has been societal change.
It's spurred a lot of change now, and I think people are realizing that now. It's just another inequity showing the vaccine distribution.
Right. So I mean, it reflects, the inequities in society, right? With people in education, if they don't have access to technology or the internet, they can't get, an education, a fair education, and then the same thing happens with a vaccine. So, those are definitely needs that we need to address in society. And it's great to see a new voice on the scene to reflect that, to reflect those needs and want to address them. What other community projects are you involved with? You're involved with a lot of stuff. So you're involved with Boy Scouts. You're doing this vaccination thing, which will hopefully come to an end in some soon manner.
Yeah. So at least with the vaccine stuff, at least a couple more months of it.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. Yeah.
And we still don't know if the new strains of COVID-19 and how they're going to affect us.
You don't know. The thing is that
if we need booster shots.
If people aren't getting vaccinated at a rate to beat the variants, these variants will become more dangerous and more potent, and then the vaccines might not be effective with those variants. That's the issue right there. I'm also involved with Boy Scouts. I'm the senior patrol leader of Troop 463 in Northford. We're doing a lot of community service with that, and being there for the community and stuff. I'm also involved in Model UN and Model Congress. It's definitely been a journey with that. It's shown me public speaking, how to
Which you're
to civilly
amazing
debate.
at, I have to say. I'm really impressed.
Thank you. Yeah. Yeah, and like learning new ideas for like future leaders and like addressing problems that exist right now that the current generation in power are not addressing. But us as younger people are trying to address that. Like when we gain power, you know, and we hold those seats.
There's hope.
There's hope. What else? I'm also involved in robotics. That's been really fun.
How are you involved with robotics?
Robotics, I'm just a team member in the group.
At New Haven Academy?
No, it's in Guilford, Apple Pie Robotics. It's a team, not a group, I should say.
Okay.
And we have like...
And you compete with
other teams across the states, different places and stuff. Yeah, it's called First Robotics, FRC, First Robotics Competition. And it's really cool, and it spurs like thinking and engineering, and it's STEM.
Sure, sure.
Also, what I've been involved with is now I'm the chair of New Haven County High School Democrats. We're actually relaunching that next week because COVID took a hard toll on us.
Sure.
We like lost a lot of members because of that, but we actually are relaunching that, and through that we're doing a lot of things, you know, with like voter registration, education is a big one, educating people on the political system, you know, bipartisan, just educating
Civics.
them. Civics is not being taught at a greater rate that it should be. Obviously that, and then like helping out like local politicians and stuff like campaigning.
Okay.
And stuff like that.
Wow, it's amazing, man. You have a lot, you know, you're an impressive individual for sure. I was going to ask you another question, but it totally skipped my mind. What else would you like to add? This is your show.
I would like.
Oh, I do. Let me digress real quick because I do. So we're talking about, you know, I was thinking about, you know, the UN Model Congress. You know, we're talking about herd immunity, and we were talking about how, you know, this could be going on, especially with variants. But, you know, so to your point where other poor nations are not getting the adequate doses, that, and you know, we have herd immunity on a global scale when we're successful at everybody getting, you know, vaccinated. And until that happens, we're going to have different variants, correct?
Correct. So say the U.S. reaches herd immunity. So what?
But people travel.
People travel, of course.
That's how this.
If the U.S. reached herd immunity, okay, that's an accomplishment. But if you look at it, the world hasn't reached herd immunity. Therefore, the virus is still spreading. Variants are still being created.
Right. Parts of Europe are still on lockdown now.
Yeah, correct.
London.
And the variants can easily travel to the U.S. and maybe the vaccine isn't effective for that variant.
Right. So we have a lot of work to do.
It's racism with like not making the vaccine adequate in like poorer nations. It's quite obvious, really, and we need to address that and like make it more equitable and improve the access to it.
Excellent. Well, a lot of work to do, but it's a lot of good work, you know, and it makes the world better with all the stuff you're doing. So I, on behalf of the community, thank you very much for doing this. We do have a little bit of time, but, you know, I think you really really covered it, and, you know, I wish you all the best.
I want to add one more thing.
Please do.
I guess so. I've been working with the library too, helping people in the town like book their vaccines and stuff. Also at my church, right across the street, the North Haven Congregational Church. I've helped many folks there book their vaccine.
Wow, thank you very much. Okay, well, you know, we ran a little bit short, but that's fine. I really appreciate all your time in doing this show and doing what you're doing in the community. I mean, you're really making this place a better place to be. So thank you for that. And thank you for your folks, you know, for bringing you here and checking out the studio, the new studio.
It's very nice, yes.
Hopefully, you know, you can utilize this tool of ours in the community. You can start your own type of thing.
That would be very cool, actually. I might take you up on that offer.
It's here for you. It's here for the community.
It would be pretty cool, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff to cover, you know.
For sure, yep.
Well, thank you very much, everybody, for joining us for another episode of I Want to Know. Please help support Tutucket TV, and we will see you soon for another episode.